So many funders, they want the nonprofit organizations to be effective and scalable. For some organizations, it may not be a wise choice because of a lot of limitations like geographic limitations, because of the mission, things like that. But for other nonprofit organizations, it could be, they may be able, capable, and willing to expand and to scale up. For me, there are 4 key criteria or capabilities for them to scale up. First, they have to be able to expand their core strength. To me, core strength is, for example, let's say social services. Last year, you have 5 counselors and you serve 1,000 different clients. This year, you add 1 more counselor and then you serve additional 200 clients. Then your organization has demonstrated that you can scale. So that's a good news. Number 2, it's about comprehensive project. So for example, if your mission is about solving the home ownership problem in New York City, good luck with that. Then on top of building affordable housing, you can also consider to offer some other services like first mortgage, second mortgage, and also down payment assistance, etc. So the third one, it's about replication. So to me, replication means if you can bring the success from one location to another to build your model. I mean, replication is you have to dissect your capabilities into smaller elements and then bring it over from one location to another. And we construct the model under different circumstances. Then you can demonstrate that, you can replicate your success. To me, some organization or common problem of some organization is they just directly copy, just copy 100% of what they did from one location to another. To me, this is a fast path to failure. You cannot just copy 100%. Finally, financial leadership, it cuts across the program, and that's the main topic today. For many nonprofit organizations, the common tool to achieve nonprofit financial leadership is to use ratio analysis. It's a quick way to assess the financial health of a nonprofit organization. There are 2 commonly used ratios. Number 1, month of cash. Number 2, debt ratio. They are good ratio, very commonly used, and you can use them to assess the long-term and short-term viability of an organization. Let me give you an example. I'm sitting on the board of a nonprofit, New York City-based nonprofit organization called AFI. AFI's mission is to serve the Asian immigrants. So obviously, the target clients of AFI is Asian Americans. AFI runs a lot of different programs. One of them, affordable housing. On top of that, workforce development, mortgage, lending, etc., etc., etc. And because of the community, the key area to serve is the Chinatown in Manhattan, in Brooklyn, and in Queens. So again, what is the problem? And I probably don't have to explain it further when you look at the chart. This is a common problem, housing affordability. I put some number online. When you look at the data, when you look at the housing price index, since 2012, the housing price gone up by 43%. Over the same period of time, the affordability gone down by 20%. So I don't have to explain it further. Housing affordability is a big problem, not just in New York City. So how can AFI help? And how can AFI scale? If you take the 7 train to Main Street, Flushing, last stop, back in 2013, you would see a huge parking lot. in 2015, AFI won a competitive bid from the city of New York. And AFI is committed to build 200 units affordable housing in Flushing. So in the middle of the picture, you see this site. It's under construction right now, and AFI expect to finish the building, the construction, by 2019. So this One Flushing project combines residential, retail, senior services, and community development. Renaissance and other AFI's affiliates will provide loan assistance to the small business owner as well. So as you can see, this organization is building a comprehensive project instead of just building affordable homes. So that's one idea to scale. The question is how? I mean, how can the organization manage to do that? From a financial standpoint, we focus on three things, three high-impact financial intervention. Number one, cash flow forecasts. When you look at audited financial statements, they are backward-looking. They are useful, but not as much as forward-looking cash flow forecasts. Some organizations just overexpanded. They don't care about cash flow projections. Sometimes they ran into some kind of liquidity problem. To me, revenue is vanity. Profit is sanity. Cash is reality. So don't underestimate cash flow. Second, look at the variance. Even though you're a good forecaster, very good forecaster, actual results very often differ from original expectations. All you have to do is to understand why there's a variance. So the key motivations about doing this variance exercises, you need to identify the explanation, understand the explanation of the variance. A lot of people just, don't even think about the explanation. They just feel like, oh, we are down, so how can we fix that? But think about that. If you understand the variance, if you understand the explanation, then if it is due to suboptimal planning, then you can do a better job in the future for your future planning process. Number three, impact analysis. A lot of people, if you don't have, think about it, if you don't have impact analysis, how do you know your program is making an impact in terms of social and economic benefits, right? So to me, impact analysis is extremely important. And obviously, in my opinion, impact analysis should focus on easy to understand simple comparison like year-over-year growth or peer comparison. That would make your life much easier. Thank you. So the question is, what if you don't have it, right? So we can talk like 24 hours about if you have it, then you can say, oh, this is perfect, successful. What if you don't have it? Here, I'm going to give you another example, a real organization. I'm not going to name this organization, but I can tell you this organization generates revenues and expense in excess of $4 million in the most recent year. This organization has been generating revenues or reserves close or exceed their expense over the past 2 decades, from 1992 to 2014. It looks good, but what happened in December 2015? The management, the organization came on and say, hey, because of some of the omissions and errors in the financial reporting, it had incurred $800,000 more debt than they had originally reported. It's a real organization. I didn't make up this number. So $800,000 more there than they had originally reported. So what they did was they came out and raised funds and rescued the organization. So when I look further, when you look at the cash looked very fine. So there are lots of numbers, but I will point you to two key numbers here. And so the cash built up nicely, and it should be fine, right? If you are not very, into this financial statement analysis. But if you look at in more detail, most of their cash, or actually they generated a negative cash flow from their normal operations. But their cash still gone up. Why? Because they borrow money. So they borrow money to increase the cash level so that the cash looked like it was increasing. So that's problem number one. Problem number two, you have to look at the cash in comparison to their monthly expense. And I did the math. I put all the numbers, by the way, I put all the numbers from 990. I used some of the numbers, but I want to verify the other numbers. So I don't use the numbers completely. And another problem is when I look at their financial position, statement of financial position like this chart, I try to reconstruct the assets, liabilities plus net assets. So accounting 101, assets equals to liabilities plus net assets. But here, when I did the math, they are not balanced. So what that meant was balance sheet was not balanced. Shocking. So I talked about the financing piece. They borrow money to bump up their cash. Another problem is we have to look at the cash and also the monthly expense. Based on my math, their cash reserve can only support half of 1 month monthly expense. Only 15 days expense. As a general rule, if you notice, people would recommend about 3 to 6 months cash reserve if you want to be sustainable, because you have to absorb some kind of unexpected event. So the question is, how are we going to go from here in the future? So I'm a big fan of strong financial leadership. But for an organization to scale up, mission, fundraising, they are very important. I'm not going to debate that, but you need to build a strong financial leadership management system in your organization. So in my opinion, number one thing is to build trust between nonprofit organization and the funders, because some funders may restrict some of the funds when they, it makes sense to me, because if I give you $1 million, you want all those $1 million to go into mission, to go to program. But the example I like to use is, let's say McDonald's. Everybody knows McDonald's. Let's say McDonald's is going to raise equity in the public market. And they tell shareholders, hey, wait a minute, you can give me this $20 million, but you have to use this money to produce healthy good because it is good for their image, right? So, the intention was good, but the unintended consequence may not be good because it will limit the CEO or ED's capability to deploy the money into finance function or some support function or IT function. So to me, a better way to do it is you can build a trust, give the money to the CEO or ED, then you don't restrict anything. But you need to build a trust. And on the other hand, I would also recommend nonprofit to have a more enhanced disclosure, financial disclosure, to build a trust with the public and key donors. So I think that's the way to build a trust as the first step. Second, you have to allocate more money into finance department. Come on, it's not just an accounting department, it's a department for financial planning and analysis. So they help you, they're your partner. They are not your enemy. Finally, do the program level forecast. A lot of organizations underestimate that, and I don't think that's the right way to do, because if you know the deficit or surplus of your program, you'll say kind of recognizable cost allocation methodology, then you can identify the true cost and true so-called profitability of the program. Then the management team can justify whether this program is self-sustainable or whether the management team should proceed with this mission. So those are my recommendations and my hope going forward. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions later on. Thank you.